అందరికీ నమస్కారం అండి. హలో ఎవ్రీవన్, వెల్కమ్ టు మన భారతీయం ఛానల్ వేర్ we are reading one book called the Sultana's Dream. For now, maybe in the future we'll go ahead with lot of other books. So we have Shikshaji with us. Hi Shikshaji, how are you?
Hello sir, fine sir, how are you doing sir?
Wonderful, I am doing absolutely fine. So Shikshaji, we are in the third chapter of Sultana's Dream, I believe. We have finished the last
Yes sir,
2 episodes. So we'll be going
yes sir.
with this three. Like today I'm little bit indisposed, so I think maybe
Yes,
so you'll have to manage for
no,
today by reading that. If you don't mind,
no issues sir.
can you start the
No
third
sir, no
chapter,
sir.
please?
I'm very much happy and pleased to take this offer sir. Thank you very much sir.
Thank you. So please go ahead with it. Reading third chapter.
Yeah, okay, thank you sir. So audience, so as we were reading Sultana's Dream, we have completed chapter 1 and chapter 2, and today we have come here to read the chapter 3. So after what in the chapter 1 we have read about what Sultana was dreaming about, and in the chapter 2 what our author has experienced in her lifetime, and she has some reports to write about her experiences. So that was chapter 2, and right now we have come to chapter 3. So, chapter 3, its title is Rokeya, an introduction to her life by Roshan Jahan. So we are reading about the life of the author Rokeya Sakhawat Hossain, and it was a note written by Roshan Jahan. So as it goes, Rokeya Sakhawat Hossain was born in 1880 in Pairaband, a small village in the district of Rangpur in the north of present-day Bangladesh. At the time of her birth, a part of the colonial British province of Bengal Presidency. Her date of birth is uncertain, which is not surprising in a region which even today lacks a well-regulated system of registering births and deaths, which means at the time when this book was written. So the author is saying, at the time when this note was written about Rokeya Sakhawat Hossain, in the time of in the British province of Bengal Presidency, there was not a well-regulated system of registering births and deaths. Then, though some maintain that she was born on December 9, 1880, citing her nephew as the source, this date is open to doubt. Of her parents, Rokeya says little beyond. I never knew what parental love was. Her mother, Rahtunnisa Sabera Chowdhury, remains a shadowy figure. She was the first of 4 women her husband married. One of her co-wives was said to have been European. Rahtunnisa gave birth to 2 sons and 3 daughters. Her rigid conformity to Parda observance was the only memory of her that Rokeya recorded. In the dedication to the secluded ones, the only book she dedicated to her mother. Rokeya's father, Zahiruddin Muhammad Abu Ali Sagar, was an extravagant an extremely conservative zamindar in the sense large landholder, whose rambling estate was a stronghold of the traditional way of life. He was said to have learned 7 languages: Arabic, Persian, Urdu, Pashto, English, Hindi, and Bangla. His children seem to have inherited his linguistic aptitude. Like other upper-class Muslim women of his time, he encouraged his sons to learn Arabic, Persian, and Urdu. The use of Bangla was frowned upon by many upper-class Muslims because it was also the native tongue of non-Muslims. Conscious of the growing prestige and advantages a modern education could bestow on young men, especially attractive was the prospect of joining the government service. However, he allowed his 2 sons, Abul Asad Ibrahim Sadar and Khalilur Rahman Abu Zaigam Sadar, to be taught Bangla and English at first at a local school and then at the elitist St. Xavier's College in Calcutta. Thus, they could meet influential persons who might facilitate their entry into the civil service. But where the formal education of his daughters was concerned, he displayed indifference. This was not, as we today may hasten to assume, proof of any lack of parental love. The practice of the time was to teach Bengali Muslim girls of the upper classes only to recite the Quran, often without any explanation of the text, and in exceptional cases, to read a few primers concerned mostly with ideal feminine conduct and written in Urdu, the language of the Muslim elite in northern India. These girls were not usually encouraged to read and write in Bangla, defying custom and valuing their Bengali identity. Defying custom and valuing their Bengali identity over their religious one. Rokeya and her gifted elder sister Karimunisa persisted in learning Bangla. Karimunisa used to squat in the inner courtyard of their house and draw the Bangla alphabet on the ground with a stick, under the supervision of her younger brother, who was allowed to go to school and learn both Bangla and English. Once, when she was deeply engrossed in reading a Bangla puthi, a popular tale in verse. Puthi means a popular tale written in verse. Once, when she was deeply engrossed in reading a Bangla puthi, her father discovered her. She nearly fainted in fear. Her father, sensing her fear, did not forbid her outright to read Bangla books. The malicious criticism of relatives, however, soon put a stop to it. Karimunisa was sent by her father to live in close confinement at Valiyadi, the estate of her maternal grandparents, and was married off before she was 15. But Karimunisa had an insatiable thirst for knowledge and later encouraged Rokeya to continue reading and writing Bangla. As Rokeya so handsomely acknowledged in the dedication to part 2 of the Motichur, that I had not forgotten Bangla during my long stay in Bhagalpur, which was 14 years, where there was none to speak Bangla, was only due to you. It was your care and concern and encouragement that motivated me to write in Bangla. That's what she said. Throughout her life, Rokeya was haunted by the waste of human potential that she saw in Karumunisa's fate. It strengthened her determination to fight against the blind observance of customs she considered absurd. In the secluded ones, Rokeya, sorry, in the secluded ones, Rokeya graphically describes the strict observance of Parda in her family and the way from early childhood she and her sisters had to hide not only from men but also from women who were outside their kinship network. The support and encouragement Rukia received from her eldest brother, Ibrahim Saber, prevented the destruction of her own potential, at least during her formative years. Ibrahim Saber had been exposed to Western thought and culture. He was strongly in favor of women's education. He taught Ruqayya both Bangla and English. Ruqayya's first biographer and close associate, Shamsun Nahar Mahmud, revealed that in order to avoid criticism and interference from parents and relatives, brother and sister had to wait for their tutorial session until everyone in the house, especially their father, had gone to sleep. The love and deep gratitude that Rokeya felt for this brother filled the dedicatory paragraph of her only novel, Padmarag. You have molded me from childhood. Your love is sweeter than honey, which after all has a bitter aftertaste. It is pure and divine like Kausar. Kausar means the stream of nectar flowing in heaven mentioned in Quran. Rokhaya's exceptional luck in having relatives who were sympathetic and supportive also held true in her marriage. Her husband, Syed Sakhawat Hossain, a civil servant born in Bhagalpur, which is in the Bihar region of Bengal Presidency, was educated in Patna, Calcutta, and London. When Sakhawat was stationed at Rangpur, Rokhaya's eldest brother, Ibrahim, met him and was very favorably impressed. Though Sakhawat was a widower and in his late 30s, Ibrahim persuaded his family to marry Ruqayya to Sakhawat. They were married in 1896 when Ruqayya was only 16.
Sir, you know the
Sir,
meaning of widower?
yeah, sir, yeah, I know, sir.
Uh,
Which means he was already married and
his wife died.
his was yes.
Yes.
So this Ruqayya was married to a widower, her first marriage, and it was and the and her husband was in his late 30s when she was only 16. Yeah, got it, sir. So Sakhawat was a man of liberal attitude who wanted from his wife not the traditional duty and obedience, but love and sympathy.
Sir, I would like to mention one thing.
Yes,
The
sir.
16 those days was actually a late marriage. We have to get into
Right, sir.
that detail also.
Right, sir.
Usually,
Right, sir.
when they say Hindus, they marry minor children and all this. Minor has got different age groups in different countries. Eating is not
Right, sir.
minor everywhere, and those days, uh, it was okay. It was the culture, it was the norm, and there was no law wherein where certain child below certain age should not be married, right? And these
Right,
people
right, sir.
belong to Islamic faith. You have to
Right,
understand.
sir. Yeah.
There, the child can be married at any age.
Right, sir.
Got it?
Got it, sir.
So you will have to take all that into picture. If you say 16 IU and also there is
Right,
no
right,
IU
sir.
in this.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
It's the
yeah.
late marriage those days, given the norms. Because
Right,
she
sir.
might have attained puberty much before.
Right, right, sir.
Right?
Right, sir.
Even that, yeah. Please go.
Right, sir. Got it, sir. So there was no law, and she claims to be. Uh, okay, 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 sir. So Sakhawat was a man of liberal attitude who wanted from his wife not the traditional duty and obedience, but love and sympathy. He not only loved her, he was also proud of her. They had two daughters who both died in infancy. Shekhawat's deep love and understanding sustained Ruqayya through those losses. Soon after their marriage, Shekhawat was transferred to Bhagalpur from Rangpur. He encouraged Ruqayya through encouraged Ruqayya to mix with women of her class who were staying in Bhagalpur. This opportunity of mixing with
You
educated
understand
Hindu
woman of what class?
women of her class.
So her class is what?
Class is elite class.
Yes, because her husband was an ICS officer, Indian
Yes,
civil
civil
service, the
servant.
British government office.
Ye-
She was an
Yes, sir.
officer's wife. She had a
Yes, sir.
certain class because of her husband's disposition. Right? She used to hang out with the elite club, though of those days.
Yes, yes, sir. Mhm.
So we need not say, very poor woman in a very downtrodden society, and because of her
Yes, yes, sir.
religion, she was, put
Oppressed and
behind the
suppressed.
slipper and all, no atrocities were committed. He was very
Right,
happy
sir.
husband, loved her very much.
Right, sir. Right, sir.
So usually not a traditional, typical Muslim person, Muslim man also. We'll have to
Right,
look
sir.
at that scenario.
Perspective also. Right, sir. So, yeah, he encouraged Ruqayya to mix with women of her women of her class who were staying in Bhagalpur. Excuse me, sir. I'll have a glass of water and come back. Just a minute.
Yes, sir. So this scenario, what we have to understand is where a particular religion is mentioned and particular religion in India was mentioned, right? We'll have to take care of the India perspective also. Yes, those days, the present day Bangladesh was a part of the British India, so called the Akhand Bharat, right? So in those, this perspective shows only the Islamic perspective, right? Where women are treated in a different way according to the scriptures. I'm not talking how they were doing in the household. I don't have any privy information of those days. I am saying their book says a lot of things about how the woman should be treated. So this is not the typical case. If you see the listen to the episode one of this book, right? This is the third
Mm,
episode. So if you look at the episode one, where she will have
mm.
a dream where everything will be feminine, who will actually rule the entire world. So that is so it is said. That is her dream. So a
Right, right,
person
sir.
of an elite class is talking about that where the husband is not pushing her down at all. He actually is encouraging her to be, very open, and he actually, encouraged her to mix up and go with the elite class of those days. Yeah,
Right,
okay, it
sir.
was women. That is fine. When those days were different, I could understand,
Mm.
but she is not for a very lowly and very dispossessed class. Yes, Shikshan,
Correct,
please
sir.
go on.
Yeah. So, he encouraged Ruqayya to mix with women of her class who were staying in Bhagalpur. This opportunity of mixing with educated Hindu and Christian women who enjoyed the privileges of birth or rank like hers showed Rukia that given an opportunity, women might lead very different lives from those led by women kept in seclusion. Quite a few of her acquaintances must have been like Sudha Mazumdar, a Hindu contemporary of Rukia, whose life pattern shows many similarities with hers, but with whom Rukia was apparently not acquainted, whose memoirs show that these women were conscious of their privileged position and possessed a keen sense of their obligations to society, which led them to engage in philanthropic activities. Additionally, Ruqayyah's extensive reading of books in English that described alternate ways of life sharpened her awareness of the suppression and oppression suffered by Bengali Muslim women. Ruqayyah was aware Ruqayyah was aware that women, I don't know why my throat is obstructing. Ruqayyah was aware that, yeah, now I'm better now, sir. Ruqayyah was aware that women in all patriarchal societies are exploited and oppressed by men, but her immediate deep concern was for the group to which she belonged. So, okay. It was to Sakhawat's great credit that he encouraged his wife to articulate these unconventional thoughts in writing and to publish them. If my dear husband had not been so supportive, I might never have written or published anything. Fortunately for her, Sakhawat's thoughts on many social issues were remarkably similar to Ruqayyah's. Mukunda Mukundadeva Mukhopadhyaya, a classmate and close friend of Sakhawat and son of Bhudeva Mukhopadhyaya, a well-known Hindu educator and writer, reminisced as he himself enjoyed the benefits of having an educated wife. He sincerely supported the cause of women's education. However, Rokeya was not destined to enjoy her husband's company for very long. Sakhawat was a diabetic. By 1907, his condition had worsened and his eyesight had begun to fail. Rokeya nursed him and helped him handle his voluminous correspondence, both official and personal, written in English. In 1909, Sakhawat went to Calcutta for medical treatment. He died there on 3rd of May. Before his death, he left Ruqayya, in addition to her lawful share, a considerable portion of his savings to be spent on women's education. The same year, Ruqayya faithfully carried out her husband's wish by establishing a girls' school in Bhagalpur. However, the husband of Sakhawat's daughter by his first wife, a man orthodox to the point of bigotry, was outraged by the fact that Ruqayya not only inherited money but also dared to spend it on women's education. His meanness and hostility became too much even for a person of Ruqayya's phenomenal patience and courage. She left Bhagalpur for Calcutta in 1910, but never formally severed connections with the family. In Calcutta, she settled down with her mother, who died shortly thereafter. Rokeya's younger sister, Humaira Chowdhury. So, what the inference I'm getting from this is, sir, is the surname of these women, Chowdhury.
Hmm.
So, these,
Chaudhary is a title actually. Those days, so
yes,
that
sir.
Chaudhary used to infer the landlords and the rich so-called urban rural elite people ఉంటారు కదా. So those people were called
Yes, yes, sir.
Chaudhary. It's a kind of
Yes,
a
sir.
title, more or less.
Yes, sir. So, oh, it is only a title, not Hindu or Muslim
No, no, no.
or anything like.
No, no. It doesn't it doesn't no have anything to do with the religion. It's only the
Okay,
your how much land you hold, how much control you hold is the
right,
crux.
right, sir. Right. Okay. So they were there. The Rukiya's mother was also a landlord's daughter or something. So it must have been by this inference. Okay. So Rukiya's younger sister, Humaira Chowdhury, who was also widowed, became a companion. In 1911, Rokeya opened the Sakhawat Memorial Girls' School in Calcutta with only 8 girls in a small building at number 8 Waliullah Lane. The school, which is still functioning, is a fitting memorial to her wonderful husband as well as to Rokeya herself. A self-taught woman raised in seclusion, Rokeya had no experience in a classroom. For the first few days, she could not imagine how one teacher could teach several students at the same time. With typical determination,
I
she
mean,
set
these are the
about.
experiences of those days single malt batch.
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
Right, I understand. So, with typical determination, she set about learning the techniques of teaching and of school administration. She visited the Brahmo and Hindu girls' schools in Calcutta and became acquainted with their principals, thus
This
learning from.
Brahmo belonged to Raja Raman Rai, a typical Brahman Sahib.
Oh, okay.
Brahmo Samaj.
Right. Oh, yes, sir. Hindu girls' schools in Calcutta and became acquainted with their principals, thus learning from observation how schools are run. Despite stiff opposition from the traditionalists, Rokeya's tireless hard work and dedication succeeded in slowly attracting students. By the end of 1915, 4 years after the opening of the school in Calcutta, the number of students had increased from 8 to 84, and the school was relocated to a bigger building at 86 by A Lower Circular Road. There were only 2 or 3 teachers, and to keep the school functioning properly, Rokeya had to work like a machine. She wrote to her cousin, I find no time at all. By the grace of Allah, we have 70 students studying in the 5 classes. The school was a primary school at this time. 2 horse-drawn carriages. I have to keep an eye on everything. I even have to make sure that the horses are regularly massaged in the evening. And you know what reward I get from my society for all this? My community is busy looking for every little mistake I made. Rokeya acted as the very soul of moderation on questions of Parda. She hoped that By keeping her school bus well covered, she would neutralize the criticism and opposition of the fundamentalists. The narration of the trials and tribulations that Rokeya and the school had, uh, the narration of the trials and tribulations that Rokeya and the school had to undergo during had to undergo the had to undergo during the trial run of the school bus is illuminating of is illuminating. The opposition remained active until her death, but she had the courage of her convictions and the faith that moves mountains. Her requests for help and donations were routinely ignored by the rich and influential Muslims of Calcutta. But Rokeya did not give up. By 1930, the school had become a high school, including all 10 grades. The curriculum included physical education, handicrafts, sewing, cooking, nursing, home economics, and gardening, in addition to regular courses such as Bangla, English, Urdu, Persian, and Arabic. She laid special emphasis on vocational training for girls, which would enable them to become assets rather than liabilities to their families' finances. The opposition from influential men made Ruqayya aware of the need to organize women. She realized that only through organized effort would she be able to build public opinion in favor of women's education, and that solidarity, not isolated effort, was needed. And that solidarity, not isolated effort, was needed. In 1916, she founded the Anjuman-e-Khawatine-Islam Muslim Women's Association. She visited she visited women in their homes to try to interest them in becoming members, but had to tolerate considerable sarcasm and criticism. However, her firm resolve and dedication again triumphed. The activities she undertook as the guiding spirit of Anjuman brought her into direct contact with women of poorer classes. Her writing and her school were mainly involved with the upper and middle classes. She has been criticized in recent years for this early bias, but the Anjuman's activities related directly to disadvantaged poor women. It offered financial assistance to poor widows, rescued and sheltered battered wives, helped poor families to marry their daughters, and above all, helped poor women to achieve literacy. Rokeya was keenly aware of the elitist nature of formal education in the Bengal of her time. It was clear to her that poor women were impeded by their poverty from acquiring an education. To counter this state of affairs, her association, under her guidance, devised a literacy program for the slum women, both Hindu and Muslim, of Calcutta.
Do you know
To,
the meaning of this Khawateen, Anjuman?
no, sir. No, sir.
Khawateen,
Associate Muslim.
Khawateen, Khawateen is women.
Okay.
Khatun is woman, one person. Khawateen is Muslim, the plural form of Khatun.
Okay. Okay,
Anjuman
sir.
is congregation or association, you can call it.
Association.
More or less.
Oh, okay.
It's a women's
Anjumane
organization.
Kawatine. Right, right, sir. Anjumane Kawatine Islam. Muslim Women's Association. Oh, okay,
Exactly.
okay, sir. So now she uh, She devised a literacy program, sir, for slum women, both Hindu and Muslim. To cover the different slum areas in Calcutta, the members formed work teams, visiting the houses of women in the slums to teach them the rudiments of reading, writing, personal hygiene, and child care. Their instruction was given depending on the linguistic character of the area in both Bangla and Urdu. Many graduates of the Sakhawat school who volunteered for the project still remember fondly Rokeya's courage, spirit, energy, and inspiring presence. Until her death in 1932, Rokeya struggled to liberate and educate Bengali women through her writings, through her school, and through the Anjuman. A review of her literary work and the social context in which she wrote will help us understand what she was struggling to achieve. Rokeya's literary activities extended over 3 decades from 1903 to 1932. Her works, especially her essays, were mainly on a few interrelated topics. One, women's, especially Bengali Muslim women's situation. Number two, Bengali Muslims and their problems. And number three, Bengali society and its problems. Women were the focal point of Ruqaya's thoughts, raising women's consciousness and ensuring women's equal rights and status in society. At the same time, she was also deeply concerned about the situation of the Bengali Muslim society, of which those women formed an integral part. Similarly, she was constantly aware of the greater society, the Bengalis, of which the Bengali Muslims formed a part. Though she was never alienated from her own community, however irritating and unsatisfactory she might have found it, she had a broader vision than some of her Hindu and Muslim contemporaries. Such liberalism is rare in Bengali literature. Indeed, her awareness and concern extended beyond Bengal to include the situation of Indian women more generally and even that of women in other countries. Such a comprehensive worldview is also rare among Bengali authors. The concern about her own society was a characteristic that she shared with other Muslim authors of the time. The last 3 decades of the 19th century were a time of great stress and change for Indian Muslims. This was partly brought on by the realization that they confronted two powerful rival groups during the period. The Christian English, bearers of an alien culture, held all political power and offered new social and cultural alternatives. The Hindus, quick to respond to the transfer of power from the Muslim Mughals to the British and to learn English, were filling all available government posts, acquiring political and administrative power, and securing the patronage of the colonial rulers. How the hell this can happen, sir? The Christian English, bearers of an alien culture, held all political power and offered new, new social and cultural alternatives. So these Christian English people held all political power, whereas
British India,
the
what more do
Hindus,
you expect?
yeah, yes sir, the Hindus quick to respond to the transfer of power from Muslim Mughals to the British and to learn English, they are filling all available government posts, acquiring political and administrative power. Oh, ho, 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 ho. And securing the patronage of the colonial rulers. So The Christian English were the legislature, the Hindus were the executive. So she says, okay. After a prolonged debate
That's what
between
he
them,
says.
yeah, that's what
Ultimately,
I'm saying,
the
sir.
other two are also women, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, this book is in a feminist domain
Yeah,
where you see she is criticizing the other women. So now it has become
exactly.
a religious issue.
Religious issue. Yes, sir.
Yes. It is, man, this is all her perspective, her words.
Hmm. Yeah, yes, sir. And and herself being a wife of civil servant.
Wife of a civil class, those days she was of the level of her single minorities, very privileged,
Very privileged. Her mother
very
was
socially
also,
encouraged by her
yes,
family.
yes, yes. And
Right.
she was her mother was also a Chowdhury
Ah,
of a landlord class.
the other is filthy rich landlord.
Yeah,
Hmm.
wonderful,
Hmm.
wonderful, oh, wonderful. After a prolonged debate between the modernists and the traditionalists, which by the 1870s was resolved in favor of the modernists, the Hindus were also in a position to offer new solutions to many social problems common to all Bengalis. The Muslims, searching for a modus vivendi, also found
And
themselves torn.
this is the
Yeah,
Bengali society, she
yeah,
says,
yeah.
where Mr. Raja, so-called Ramohan Rai,
Ram
the
Mohan
Brown
Rai. Yeah,
Sahib,
yes, sir.
hails from.
Yeah, yes, yes.
Hmm.
Right. The Muslims, searching for a modus vivendi, also found themselves torn between the traditionalist and modernist approaches. The need for survival as a distinct group and the recognition of their status as a weak minority often
Yeah.
drove the Muslims.
They
So,
were very minority who were even still ruling majority of the India those days,
yes, yes,
right?
yes, yes,
Just a few,
right,
few, few years before, or
yes,
maybe decades. The
correct, sir.
so-called Mughals.
Mughals, yes.
Hmm. And they are the
And she
underprivileged
mentioned,
minority now. See how the words are
uh,
twisted.
exactly, sir. And she is saying that their status as a weak minority.
Oh, we are weak also.
Yeah. Ah,
If she
the
says so,
need for,
let us.
yes, yes. The need for survival as a distinct group and the recognition of their status as a weak minority often drove the Muslims into a defensive stance. So, since then, this card of minority, weak minority, is being played.
The victim card.
Victim card, minority card.
Usual.
Yes, sir.
Al
Defensive
Takia, there is
stance.
some word because I don't remember. Maybe I'll tell you in the
Hmm.
next episode. By the time I'll just search and tell you. I used to remember.
Yes,
There is something called Al Takia or something like that, something similar. I don't know whether this is a word or something else. It says
right,
in their hadiths it is written. If you are,
right, sir.
the present scenario, you are on the top, you sit on the top of the head, otherwise you be at the feet of the other person and cry victim card. That is what their book says.
Super.
Right. This is the classic example. But I'll get you the meaning by next episode. The
Right,
word,
right, sir.
actual word.
Right, sir. So, their status as a weak minority often drove the Muslims into a defensive stance, which sometimes became ultra conservative. But
And
the leader,
at that time
hmm,
in Kashmir, where the
yeah,
Muslims were in the majority ruled by a Hindu king, and the place
yes,
where I hail from, the Nizam state was still in existence, where it was a
right, sir.
Muslim minority, but they were the ruling class.
Yes, yes,
Seriously.
yes.
And everything was in Muslim, Urdu at that time. I mean, the present Hyderabad
Yes,
state contains parts of Maharashtra and Karnataka also. put together.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
Seriously.
And Nizam was one of the richest
No,
people
he's
on the
not one of
planet.
the. He was the richest person in that world in those days.
Yes. Yes.
He was on the top. The number numero,
Yes.
number one at that time. He was richer than the British Queen. But his
Right,
personal
sir.
wealth.
Right, sir.
Weak minority. What can we do?
Weak minority. Yes. So, but the leadership of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan of Aligarh, described as the Muslim counterpart of Ram Mohan Roy. Oh, Sir Syed Ahmad
Wonderful.
Khan.
Our Raja Sahib,
Correct, sir.
the
Correct, sir.
Brown Sahib.
The mention has come.
Do you know how he
And
got that word title Raja? He was
he
awarded
said,
that by the Mughal emperor.
oh,
He was not a king.
right, 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 sir, right, sir.
So see his loyalties.
Yes, understood, sir.
Now, so two
And
friends are sitting on either side of the table
right, right, sir.
as counterparts. Seriously.
I think very ridiculous, sir.
So much of dogma.
Whatever beings he written here is very conflicting in nature.
It's called dogma.
Yes, yes. The Muslim counterpart of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, the Muslim counterpart of Raman Bai, the Hindu reformer, anxious to accept Western science, but without damaging the fabric of Islam. Soon convinced Bengali Muslim leaders such as Nawab Abdul Latif and other members of the Mohammedan Literal Society of Calcutta that Bengali Muslim males should acquire modern formal education in order to compete with the Hindus. Their active
Wonderful.
long
Super. And that was the time when I believe Aligarh Muslim University, I don't know whether it was there or not, but this so-called this single malt elite Muslim
Yes.
class, they were the majority in London, the Oxford and other places. They all became barristers. I don't know how an underprivileged people can become barristers.
Underprivileged and weak minority status people.
Weak minority.
Right.
And in this underprivileged and weak minority, women were landlords.
Women
Two
were
of them
landlords.
were in her family only, her mother and
Her
sister.
family. Yes.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Good, six.
Yeah. So, Bengali Muslim males should acquire a modern formal education in order to compete with the Hindus. Their active lobbying compelled the Bengal government to take steps to facilitate the formal education of Muslim males. In 1871, only 14.7% of the total Muslim male school-age population attended school.
Siksha, I would like to mention one more thing. It
Yes,
says modern education of those times. That means the British education. That doesn't mean women in that Muslim clan were not educated. They were educated in their religious scriptures. They were educated in reading, writing in their own language, like Bengali or Urdu or whatever it is. And they could do everything. They were educated in arts. They were educated in culture. They were educated in history. Lot of education was there, but the modern education of those times, like attending school and learning the British stuff, I think that was missing. Maybe.
That was missing.
Quote unquote.
True. Yeah, absolutely, sir. She herself.
Because it's mentioned modern multiple times. I'm just getting to that conclusion.
No, no, sir. I will give one small detail here. She,
Please.
in the earlier text, she herself told that when she was younger, uh, she was being taught the verses of Quran in
Yeah,
her
they're
own
religious texts.
their religious texts. Yes,
Mhm.
uh, not in probably in Urdu, otherwise in Persian or Arabic, whatever
Yeah,
was
mostly
available
Arabic
to.
and Persian also. Yes, you're right.
Yes, sir. But
That is called Farsi.
Farsi. Yes, sir.
Hmm.
So in 1871, only 14.7% of the total Muslim male school age population attended school. By 1881, the proportion had risen dramatically to 23.8%. The quest for a group identity united Bengal Muslim writers at the turn of the century. Their central concern led them to seek their roots in history and tradition, and on the one hand, and on the other, uh, their central concern led them to seek their roots in history and tradition on the one hand, and on the other, critically to review their present situation. It is interesting to note that until Rokeya raised it, the debaters were virtually silent on one vital social issue: the position of Bengali Muslim women. This silence is the most significant difference between the Bengali Hindu and Muslim quests for identity in the 19th century. The most lively and passionate debates between the Hindu traditionalists and modernists raged around issues related to family life and women's position, child marriage, polygamy, widow remarriage, parda, and women's education. Through the movements launched by the modernists, the Widow Remarriage Act, permitting widows to remarry, was passed in 1856. Polygamy began to go out of fashion. The Age of Consent Act, which fixed the minimum legal age of marriage for girls at 12 years, was passed in 1891. So, sir, uh, if the minimal legal age of
Hmm.
girls at 12 years was passed, so why was it?
See, in the Islamic scripture,
Sir,
it says once the
hmm,
woman starts menstruating, she can marry. She can be married. So that can happen
right, sir.
anywhere between, I believe, 9 and 12, kada? More or less, give
Right,
or
right,
take.
sir.
The exact science, I don't know. Maybe let's find out with
Yeah,
a
yes,
doctor or some female. We are not female, so we have limited knowledge on that. Let's find out. So given
yes.
my knowledge goes, it's between, it starts at around 9 in some, 10 in some, so, and it goes up to 15 till in some of the late puberty cases. But usually around 10 to 12, most of the
Hmm.
young girls, they fall in that category.
Hmm.
So they have taken one mid point called 12, where at least 80 to 90% of the females, are already, they will get into puberty in the childbearing
Right,
age.
sir, right. Hmm.
So they have taken and made it into a
So,
canonized law. So the
hmm,
scripture says after puberty.
hmm,
Here they have canonized a fixed an age. If the woman
yeah,
doesn't get puberty also by 12, she doesn't know, then also
she
she
can
can
be
be married.
married.
Seriously.
Yes,
This is
yes,
nonsense,
yes.
Kada. The first one is
Absolutely.
more scientific. Now the second one is
Yes,
ridiculous. But still it has been
ridiculous.
made into a canonized law.
Yes,
So what
yes,
if a woman is doesn't get puberty and she gets married? She has to wait, Kada. The husband has to wait, whatever.
yes, sir.
It's okay,
Why don't,
that fixed number is ridiculous. That's what I'm saying. Okay, it happened. It
yes,
happened.
yes,
So
sir.
we cannot change it now. It's an old story. Good.
Okay, okay, sir. Sir, I have a doubt. Why don't the law, can a law be made similar to this, saying a woman can marry after achieving puberty, like that, and a certificate can be produced
Yeah, that will be
by the
ridiculous.
parliament.
Leave it. So that is not going to happen
So
because these days things are different. We can have a
okay,
discussion somewhere because we have to discuss a lot of
mm,
things in our Rachapanda. Maybe tomorrow, day after
okay,
tomorrow,
sir.
whenever we find time, we can do that in that session.
Sure. Right,
It's
right,
more of a
right, sir.
general discussion. So let's see.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Age of Consent Act, which fixed the minimum legal age of marriage for girls at 12 years, was passed in 1891. In 1866, Brahmo women were allowed to come out of Parda and participate in the weekly congregation. The number of girls' schools rose from 95 in 1863 to 2,238 in 1891. And the number of female students, almost all of them Hindu, Brahmo, and Christian, rose from 2,486 in 1863 to 78,865 in 1891. Indeed, the increasing demand by the younger generation of Hindu and Brahmo men for educated brides compelled even fairly conservative, conservative conservative upper and lower middle class Hindu and Brahmo families to send their daughters to school. By 1905, the number of women who had received BA and MA degrees from Calcutta University totaled 30. All of them were either Hindu, Brahmo, or Christian. None were Muslim. Why were the Muslims so eager to catch up with the Hindus and, if possible, to outstrip them where the education of boys was concerned, so reluctant to emulate them regarding the education of girls? The answer lies perhaps in their attitude toward the need for observance of Parda. So, the whole book is written in the perspective, of course, I can understand this, but
Yeah, this is Roshan
and
writing on about Rukia. So these are the words of Rukia, Roshan Jahan,
yes, sir.
her
Yes, sir.
sister.
I understand this, but
Yeah.
I think this okay. Maybe
Hello,
in
Vishwagar.
the
Hello, sir.
yes, sir.
Hello, Sikshadev.
Sir. Good sir. So, sir,
You're
as
saying
for
your
the book,
comments, sir.
sir,
Yeah, go ahead,
yes,
go ahead, go ahead, Shiksha.
sir, as for the life story of Rokeya Sakhawat Hossain has gone, the book I don't know why the book's name was I mean the what is it? The suffix of the book, the feminist manifesto, is that it, sir?
No,
The
it says
feminist
Sultana's dream.
Sultana's dream feminist manifesto, something like that.
Yeah.
So the why did it mention the feminist? I think it should not
No,
mention
it says a
feminist.
feminist. See, it says a
Hmm.
feminist utopia. Utopia is the most ideal
Utopia.
situation.
Mm.
Oh, okay, okay,
So, Utopia,
okay.
it's funny, right? On one hand, you are reading
Ah,
Sultana's Dream, a feminist utopia. On the other hand, we are reading
Oh.
Animal Farm, which is a communist dystopia. It is the opposite of utopia.
so that's the reason I picked up this book. You have picked ism, I have I picked East. So
Mm.
ultimately, communism, feminist.
Exactly.
Sir, this
Coincidence.
was just a couple of just a while ago. There was a mention of Mr. Ramohan Roy also from
Yeah.
Brahma.
I was not even
No,
listening. There's no need to get.
Vishwagar already did, na? Jeho Raja Ram Mohan Roy, the
Vino
most
Raja Ramohan Roy.
British among Indians, and that's his claim to him.
Yep.
Quote unquote, it is
Yeah.
British, not British.
Yes.
You should not read spellings like that. Very bad.
No, you
Purposefully
if you have
typed
not
it.
mentioned I know, so if you have not mentioned in quotes, I would have, thought it was a typo. This is not. No.
Okay, sir, I will continue, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. For Muslims, the relaxation of Parda rules, which were enjoined by the Quran and sanctioned by Hadith, religious traditions based on the sayings of the Prophet, was a very grave issue. The original instructions proclaimed in Surah 24 of the Quran concerned modesty of behavior. A woman was to lower her gaze to avoid displaying her beauty except to men in permitted categories: poor, husband, father-in-law, brother, sons, stepsons, uncles, children, and slaves.
No, hang on.
So,
There's a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
sir.
there's a lot of interesting junk in this. They're called mehram
Exactly.
basically.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, madam.
And by the way, there's a procedure to make a na-mehram into a mehram.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm
that
not
is in
going to.
CS, it is more prevalent.
I'm not going to mention it on this channel, but if anybody wants to Google and research, they can do it.
Yeah, you mentioned, sir.
Okay.
No
Okay.
issues. It's all out in the public, sir. No secrecy. Please go ahead.
Really, you want me to talk about how
Yeah,
to make a
yeah.
na-mehram into a mehram?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
So, do you know Siksha then how it is done, or at
No,
least
no,
the
sir. Please.
recommended method?
No, sir.
Yeah.
Please
So an
tell.
adult woman has to breastfeed an adult man 5 times in order to make him a mehram.
What, sir? Come again, sir. My
Yes.
mind,
Yes.
my mind has
See,
gone.
I'll tell you, I'll give you. See, there is some, especially in Shias, Muslims, somewhere Sunnis are also following that, but it is mostly Shias among the, it says, Dood ka farak. You got it? So, a man and a woman, if they are breastfed from the same mother, they cannot marry.
Okay.
But see, it says, for example, a man has got two wives. First wife's son can marry second wife's daughter, or vice versa, because they are fed from from a different mothers.
Oh, ho, ho, ho.
So any third person, if she has to become one of the mahram, mean the inner circle, the close this thing, then she has to breastfeed. So it
Oh
becomes
my God.
more or less like a son.
Oh my God.
That was one of the
So,
practices. I don't know if it is still prevalent, but those days, yes, I have heard.
yeah, and there is a huge dispute between whether it is 5 times or 10 times.
Oh my God. So, adult men will can get, I don't know what to say, sir, to get breastfed by adult women so that they get into the inner circle of the family. Either it is 5 times or 10 times. Oh,
And that is the dispute. How many times is the dispute? Not the practice.
whatever it might be, sir. Whatever you say. I'm
Man,
fully
what if it
blown.
happens only 9 times
Yeah.
I'm fully blown
or
to
4
that
times?
very thought.
So there is actually a YouTube video where an Egyptian news anchor is interviewing a mullah basically,
Uh,
because in Egypt these mullahs issued an order saying all the women who are going to the offices have to make
mm.
all the men also that they work with mehrams basically.
Oh, ho, ho, ho.
Okay,
Oh,
so
ho.
this news anchor was interviewing him and saying, "What is this?" Right, and the guy
Uh,
just smiled and he didn't respond basically.
I like the
oh
practice
my
actually.
God.
Good. Very nice practice.
I disagree with the entirety of the entire thing anyway.
Oh my God. This is very shocking to listen, sir. That practice of Mehra. And here she says, Surah 24 of Quran concerned with modesty of behavior. A woman was lower to her lower. A woman was to lower her gaze to avoid displaying her beauty except to men in permitted categories, and those permitted categories are husband, father-in-law, brother, sons, stepsons, uncles, children, and slaves. Slaves also included. I don't know what to understand. Okay. To draw a veil or shawl over her head and bosom and avoid attracting attention. For example, by not wearing conspicuous jewelry. Later interpretations and elaborations were directed more toward restricting women's mobility and sexual self-determination. Mhm. Fatima Mernissi argues persuasively that the extreme form of seclusion was actually a protective measure introduced to protect men from women's great powers of seduction, which, if unchecked, might succeeding in tempting Muslim men to the point of swerving from their allegiance to Allah, their sole Lord and Master. Such breach of loyalty would bring about the much dreaded fitna, chaos, in the Ummah, community of believers, which is presumably composed of men only, for Islam is a man's religion par excellence. This fear, coupled perhaps with anxiety about paternity, led Muslim men to tighten the restrictions on women's mobility and self-determination. In Rokeya's time, the customs of Muslim parda permitted few occasions for interaction between men and men. Even in the family, where the two worlds overlapped, strictly followed rules of avoidance precluded transgressions of male and female space. Moreover, strict observance of parda rules among the Bengali Muslims, especially among the elite, became important for a socio-economic reason. Observance of strict parda not only provided women with separate living quarters at home, but guaranteed their invisibility in public spaces through covered transport and the burqa. These measures involved considerable expense which only the affluent could afford. Parda observance quickly became a status symbol. Thus, the same motive, status, that had encouraged upper-class Muslim families in Rokeya's time to send their sons to progressive schools stood in the way of their daughters' modernization. The resultant cultural and intellectual gap, forever widening between the men and women of the Muslim upper middle class, did not seem to concern Muslim men. Nor did the improvement in the status and situation of Hindu and Brahmo women resulting from their access to education seem to perturb Muslim men greatly. Sir, what is this, sir? I don't understand.
Yeah. So let's see what they're saying here.
The resultant cultural and intellectual gap, forever widening, between the men and women of the Muslim upper middle class did not seem to concern Muslim men. As far as that it's concerned.
But the problem is for the women. The men don't care.
Yeah, because the
That is
women
what it is.
were not educated. There was a difference in the intellectual level of the two. However, the Hindu women, he keeps calling Brahmo women. That's just all Hindu women, by the way.
Brahmo Samaj.
Yeah, total nonsense. All this Brahma Samaj and all that. In this day, they have been.
Even it says Hindu and Brahmo. She is showing
Hindu
the
and
distinction
Brahmo.
between Hindu and Brahmo. Both are different. According to her.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, I don't agree with all that. So this is just pure buying into the propaganda, which we have to debunk. But anyway,
The entire book is about that, sir.
Yeah,
What
no,
can we
no.
do?
No, I'm just clarifying, right?
Mm,
So, but among the Hindus, the men and women were progressing equally, more or less, right? Because of all the access,
Yeah, yeah.
right? But the Muslim men didn't care. That's what she say. Rokeya ji is saying.
Exactly, sir. Actually, previously in this very text only, she has given a stat wherein there were more Hindu or and the Brahmo women, as you say, there were more women in those schools than Muslim women.
Absolutely.
And she says the improvement in the status and situation of Hindu and Brahmo women resulting from their access to education did not was not there actually.
Yeah. Did not concern the Muslim men, and the divide continued basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, what she was saying is, so as far as Muslim community was where she referred to, that was okay, sir. But she also notifying that Hindu and Brahmo women are also similar in fashion in that modernization concept between men and women of Hindu and Brahmo communities. It is what she is proclaiming.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Vatsalya Ajahn. Hi,
hello.
Vatsalya.
Hi, Vatsalya.
How are you?
Hello, sir. I'm good. Thank you. Fine, sir. How are you?
Wonderful to note.
You fine, sir.
Sir, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So, uh, but Rokeya realized the adverse effects of the cultural deprivation on the already inferior status of Muslim women. She led a campaign to persuade her society to change its attitude towards women. The 5 articles that Rokeya published in 1903 to 4, Stri Jatir Abanati, the degradation of women, Ardhangi, the female half, Sugruhini, the good housewife, Borkha, the cloak, and Griha, home, might be considered her preliminary statement of the problem of Parda. The bulk of her later work elaborated and substantiated the thesis presented in these articles, which were collected and published in the book Motichur, 1908. The essays illustrate her beliefs and her strategy as an advocate of the women's cause. Rokeya argued as follows. Number 1. Though at present economically dependent on men for historical reasons, women are not innately inferior to them mentally or spiritually. Given equal opportunity, they can easily prove themselves men's equal in mental and spiritual endowments. Sir, I claim this blasphemy from the point of view of Quran, sir.
Oh.
How do you
Indeed,
say?
I agree. I mean,
I mean,
Everything is good, but I just wanted to know that why these all names are from Sanskrit or our known languages.
Bengali is like that.
Banglo.
Okay.
আমি তুমি
Bangla
বাংলা
is very
ভাষা
Sanskritized.
Bolo Boshi.
is
Yeah.
a Bangla woman
Okay, no issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
where when she
So the
was
Urdu
living
influence is a lot more in the Western Pakistan.
Eastern Pakistan. Yes.
Eastern Pakistan.
No, western
Opposite.
East
Western
Pakistan is now today's
okay.
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh.
East Bengal, East Pakistan, then Bangladesh, today's Bangladesh.
Bangladesh.
Actually,
That is
that was one of the main reasons for the partition of Pakistan.
yes, exactly. Because they insisted they have to put official
They
language as
insisted
Urdu
that
and
they have
everybody should
to.
speak.
Yeah, sir. Please go ahead, sir. Lawyer, sir.
So that was the exact fight between the Muslims of the two places.
Got it,
Sheikh
sir.
Mujibur, that fellow was there, na? Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. He was actually the first elected
Yeah.
Prime Minister of entire Pakistan. But he was not allowed to
Yes.
set foot on the present day Pakistani soil.
Correct.
Because this fellow is a Kala Bengali.
Correct.
Correct, sir.
So
Correct.
basically, Bhutto came up with the slogan "Idhar hum, udhar tum."
Acha.
Right? Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Actually, this is good. I think so, sir.
yeah,
Being a
and
prime minister or a president, he shouldn't step on his own land.
exactly. So given all that, the whole point here is, there are some people that come to our panel and argue that there is some unity and all that, right? The religion unifies people and all that. This is a clear-cut example that even something as basic as language can split, right? Whereas
Yes, sir.
India, with its 22 plus states and 2000 plus languages, is still united.
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, 28 plus official languages, sir. There are multiple languages which are not still official, but they
Exactly.
still exist.
Correct.
Mostly dialects.
Correction.
Correct.
So correction. 22 languages are official.
Yeah, but I said 2000 plus, right? There are so many,
Could be,
Yeah.
yes.
yeah, there
Yeah,
are some that are
2000
not even
plus.
written. Yeah,
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
I know at least 30.
yeah.
The dialects and others, so the small things.
Yeah, we'll discuss this thing in the other lives. Or actually, I do have a point here.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Right.
Sir, lawyer,
Okay.
sir, you can
So,
stop whenever
Yeah.
you want. Draw a line
No,
from
there is,
this.
we are reading one chapter per episode, so I think it's still there. About 20% is left over. Is it Vasalia?
yes, sir.
Sorry, Shiksha, how
No,
much is
sir.
it? Done?
Almost. Let me see, sir.
Yeah,
No, sir.
let's go ahead.
Almost.
Let's finish it off. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So, point number 2. What her arguments were. By confining women to the household, men deliberately deprive women of equal opportunity to cultivate their minds and to engage in gainful employment, thus making them dependent and inferior in status. Sir, of this also I object, sir, because how many men were educated back in the day? I seriously doubt this.
Define education.
Education, as per this book, education is British education, sir.
Yeah. So not many. In fact, there is
Not
still a
many.
complaint even today saying overnight, whatever the Quranic studies were part of the curriculum for most men were declared unrecognized by the state, by the British Empire. Basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
So, argument number 3. Men perpetuate their domination of women through several mechanisms of social control, chief among which are seclusion and socialization.
Yeah. This is
Probably
Islamic
in the Muslim
male
community.
patriarchy.
Exactly, sir. Then, argument number 4. They further deprive women from exercising their lawful rights by manipulating laws that are man-made and by taking advantage of women's ignorance and vulnerability. I think these man-made laws are much better than the Sharia, I guess. Then the deprivation is much greater in Sharia, sir. Argument number 5. Yeah. Argument number 5. The unjust and immoral practice of
What is the page number, Shiksha?
page number 60, sir.
60. Okay.
I guess there is a little bit more than 20%.
Oh, so do you think should we continue tomorrow or on the next episode?
It's up to you, sir.
I think it's
I
more
am
than
fine.
1 hour 20.
Yeah. Okay,
It's more
okay,
than
sir.
20 minutes. Oh, it's quite a good number. It's
Oh,
more than
okay.
12. It's almost 30-40% left over.
Oh,
30%
yeah,
left
yeah.
over, course. About 10 pages left over.
Good,
Can do it in the next episode.
So maybe we can finish the 8 points and then we can close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
Okay, sir. Okay. So, argument number 4. They further deprive women from exercising their lawful rights by man. Oh,
Sorry,
this is over.
you
This
was
is
you was
over.
about to read the fifth one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
5. The unjust and immoral practice of deliberately depriving half the society of the opportunity of healthy and natural growth is detrimental to the society as a whole.
Yeah. Who is
Mhm.
defining? Depends upon what the definition is and who is defining it.
Correct, sir. Correct. Argument number 6. This deprivation and close confinement also make women deficient in reasoning, ignorant, and physically weak, thus rendering them unfit for properly executing their socially ascribed roles as housewives and mothers. Again, going back to their own community. Then argument number 7. The only effective and morally right solution to this deplorable state of affairs is to give women access to education, emancipation from parda being a precondition. So, access to education, emancipation from parda being a precondition. Okay. Finally, the argument number 8. Finally, the benefits accrued by society, including men, would be immense, for educated women would be responsible in and useful to the society. That's, I think, sir. The 8 arguments are over.
I think
Wonderful.
Mhm.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So once
Actually,
the
we do have
parda is
multiple
not there,
questions.
then everything will be alright. Sab theek ho jayega.
Correct.
That is the argument. And today, women
That
are
is the
saying
argument.
parda, we want parda, the hijab and niqab. We are wearing it
Yes,
out of
yes,
choice,
Correct.
yes.
especially the so-called quote unquote westernized Muslim people.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, this is also part of the same Latvians gang.
Hmm. It
Luteans
is,
gang.
sir. It is. We have discussed, before you came. So she comes from a very, very wealthy, filthy rich, fully privileged, encouraged by the husband. And she used to hang out with the quote unquote
Elite
single
women.
mart ladies of her time. Her
Elite
husband is
women.
an ICS officer.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Back in the day.
Hmm.
And her mother was also comes from a very filthy rich landlord family.
Amazing.
All her brothers were well educated in multiple languages: Arabic, Persian, Urdu, Hindi, Bangla, English. And her younger brother taught Bangla to her.
Oh, okay.
Vishwaji, I do have one question, but rather telling in English, it is more comfortable in our language, actually,
Yeah, go ahead.
the mother tongue.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah. If possible, I'll just try to be in English, stick to English, actually.
No
Sir,
problem. చెప్పండి తెలుగులో చెప్పండి.
yeah. అంటే ఏం లేదు సార్ ఇక్కడ గీత అసలు ఎవరు గీశారు, ఆ గీతని ఈవిడ ఎందుకు తురపాలని అనుకుంటోంది అనేది నా ముఖ్యమైన ప్రశ్న. సో బేసికలీ హూ kept women behind the bars or behind the wall. They do have their own what do you call independence or whatever, but who are those people who drawed a line? You shouldn't cross this. If you cross this, you will become a masculine woman. So
it
how is
comes
that
from-
possible, sir?
Yeah, it comes from the book, the clerics, and the way the whole thing is interpreted and things like that.
So let us get a small example, sir. We do know that we do have multiple queens across our history and might, actually. So there is no line between those particular, considering a queen, she might be a filthy rich or wealthiest person in that particular country. So she doesn't have any borders or lines, but why to the other woman in that country itself? That's a
Yeah,
question.
the queen. So you're talking about like a queen of a Muslim
Exactly.
kingdom?
Correct. Yes.
No, they have parda is standard for them also.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean there are exceptions, but that's not the rule.
So there might be some privileges only particularly for this sort of woman, like being a queen.
There are some, but the parda is common factor
It is
even for
basically
them.
common factor.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only question is why for normal women all this parda business. I mean, it's okay if the queen is put in parda because of various reasons, right? Because she doesn't have to work, she doesn't have to do anything, right?
Correct.
But this whole burqa parda and all that is very difficult for normal day-to-day women doing their regular jobs.
Correct.
It's very painful.
See, sir,
actually.
I do have a fascination from right from the beginning. See, let us consider a pot maker. I saw women making pots. I saw women making bricks. So the same physicality with men and women, I mean, between men and women are same over there, and the work is also same. So why these people draws a line in between, particularly these sort of six?
Yeah, that's the problem, right? That's why it's a social issue, and
Correct.
especially in the subcontinent, because the weather doesn't permit. It's an outside. It's a. It's something that came to us from outside. Let's put it that way.
Probably correct, sir.
Yeah.
Multiple questions from only the particular discussion of number 4. I mean,
Yeah.
the line number 4 gave me multiple questions actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The whole. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think it's time to close, sir. If we have
Please,
nothing
sir.
more to discuss, let's close it.
Yeah.
Nothing, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, viewers, however small it may be, your comments are very important to us. Please do comment on this video. Please give it a like. If you like, seriously. If you don't like, please mention it so that we'll try to do it the same thing differently. So with this note, I'll end this session. So we'll see you in the next episode of this Sultana Stream. Till then, thank you and bye bye.